Okay, so I'll start over. And what you're looking at right here is our replacement for roomMaster.net, what we're calling IQ Webbook, the new booking engine. So it would be something like this. So this is the development that we've done so far, and this is where we're looking at maybe the end of March or April to start releasing this. There's a lot more to do. This has been a lot of work. But what you're seeing here is a carousel of rooms. See your room types as a carousel of rooms, and the ability to pick a range. So let's just pick from the 30th to the 31st. We'll be able to see the rates in this calendar right here. And on the number of rooms, you'll be able to even do multiple rooms. And the neat part of this is you'll be able to do multiple rates in the same display. So as you can see, the popular rates that were designated in the system are the free and the best and the previous guest. So what we'll do is we'll start off with a check availability on this. And what it does is it will show the rates starting for each of the rooms. It will show the availability and the sort, and they can pick which room that they like. And so if we were to, let's just say we were to go to this particular room, as we come down here, we're showing the size of the rooms, the capacity of the rooms, some descriptions of the room in HTML text, some pictures of the room, and over here on the right, we can show these particular rates. So as they even move the mouse cursor over this, they can get a detailed information about the rooms. And the cool part is notice it's 3 rooms, so they can shop and pick the best price. But if I were to go over here, and you're not going to see this anywhere else, as I click here, notice it is changing real time. So even though it's a web system, if I were to go over here and I'd say, well, I can't do military, and I'm not going to be staying this, and I don't want a free cancellation. So as you can see, it's real time. And if they want any more information about it, all they have to do is click. They can get full details of this and see the information, and then they would go into starting a booking the reservation to get into it. So I just want to show this particular information up here is going to be site specific, so you'll be able to set your if you wanted to say something like this was about bike week, or this is about your so-and-so, you'll be able to set these to anything you want. And additional information, you'll be able to pick currencies, and you'll be doing multi-language. I just want to show that it could be skinned very easily. So as you can see, you saw one, but as you can see, you can skin it very easily and go into another design. And even when you go into the calendar, even the calendar is going to look a little different. And even these are squares now instead of, they look a little different. So so that's I know people wanted to see what we were doing, and so I just wanted to give a little demo of that and see, so that people can see that we are working on that and what the webbook is coming along. But I didn't want to spend too much time on it because there's so much to cover with roomMaster version 16. So back to in roomMaster version 16. So I know we talked about it last week that we did add the sign in button, sign off, but we're going to call it sign off instead of sign on. We just renamed that just the other day because it made more sense. A couple of things on the room moves. So if we go into this room move, when you pull up a departure for today, it will say that there's the room move notification. Do you want to proceed with the room move now? And clicking yes well, the room's dirty. I'll clean that. But we did make some changes. If there are reservation deposits for the room move, the reservation deposit will now transfer through. So if you have two reservations that part of the room move and they both have deposits, when you do the room move, we'll transfer the deposit now when version 1603 comes out. So so that's cool. And then we also have the ability now to do a room move for the same room. And this was something that we came up with, is you can now create multiple reservations even though they're in the same room, if they're changing the rate type or they're changing the number of persons. So if you had somebody that's going to be on a package rate and then they're changing to a rack rate, or they're changing from one rate type or another, or 3 adults to 2 adults, you could actually now create the 2 reservations. They'll link together as a room move. The confirmation letter will print only one confirmation letter with the correct total stays. The sign-in sheet will do correct. And if we go into it, we call this a reservation change notification. So it's simply saying the person's going from 103 to 103. So we'll do that now as a reservation change notification. As you can see, the deposit from the new reservation will come through, and the guests will now be updated, and the deposit will be transferred. They'll stay in the same room. The reservation will be correctly checked out, checked in. Everything's going to get adjusted. But the good part is it gives you that flexibility if you have guests staying with multiple rate types. So that's going to be in 1603. I think if you tried that now with the current release, it would say that there's somebody already in the room, so you couldn't do the room move. So we're now calling those a reservation change notification. So we think that that's really cool and really helpful. And so the only thing is with the housekeeping reports, they are automatically adjusted as well. So if it's a room move and they're going from 103 to 104, then housekeeping will see that it's a room move, so that way they can move the guest stuff or get ready to move the bags. So on the room moves, the associates reports and the housekeeping reports are all adjusted properly and have the right dates, and it's really cool. But if it's a reservation change notification, then it clearly shows it back as the stay over, and it puts the new date, the real checkout date. So even though the guest is folio will show checking out today, but if you printed the housekeeping report, it would show the guest is checking out maybe tomorrow or the next day. So yes, the housekeeping reports are adjusted correctly for room moves and for room reservation change notifications. So the whole thing works really cool. Okay, this was a neat. This is something a lot of people, I'm going to go over the premier enhancements now. This was something that people have been asking like during all sales demos. Chuck gets this a lot, and so I actually added this for Chuck. The ability to change the rate from here. So we do have the ability to do rate adjustments. You need to turn those on first in setup configuration, and it would be under reservations, rate information, yield management. So you have to have some type of yielding turned on. You don't have to have anything applied. You don't have to be using yielding, but just turn this to one of these 3 options if you're not even doing yielding, and you'll be able to use its function. But it says right here, rate adjustments, allow entry on availability booked by room number. So you have to have this checked. If you have that checked, then you can say you're a manager and you're looking around and that you're ready to leave for the day, and you've decided to drop the rate on the deluxes to $199 because you just want to make this quick change tonight because you want to fill the hotel. So you can right click, go down to adjust rate. Oops, I can't use AAA. You got to be on a non-derived rate because the rates that derive will come off this rate adjustment. So sorry about that. So you'll come down here to adjust rate, you'll key in the new rate, press OK, and the rate will now change for that day that easily. A couple of things. One, yeah, you cannot do derived rates because the derived rates will derive off the master rate. So it would, the rate that you're changing. So all derivatives would change. Please don't go in here and use this as your ability to set up rates. If you do, there will be a huge slowdown in the system. It is not designed for you to go through and say, I'm going to set the rate for the 21st, now I'm going to set the rate for the 22nd, and you're just clicking and clicking and clicking, and you're just setting your rates. Because if you do, your system will slow down to a crawl. That's not the purpose of this screen. This purpose is to make fine-tuning to simple rates. Maybe you want to change a certain day because you see the occupancy is not what you want, or you want to raise something. So you can go ahead and right click, go to adjust rate, and it will, notice this is 400, 400, 410, 420, because it knows that there's a $10 increase. So if I were to put 129 here and tab off here, it knows to set the rates to these particular values, and the rate changes. If you go back to the display rate adjustments, you go in here, you'll be able to see all the adjustments that were made, who made them, and the date and time that they added the adjustment, and you can actually get rid of all your adjustments or print them out and sort it, or you can do all that. So you can at least see that which ones are in play. If you want to clear one, then you can right click and see there's a check mark here. This means that there is an adjusted rate in play. If you go into it, there is an option here called reset, and when you hit reset, it will undo the rate adjustment for that day and put it back to the rate. So this particular rate adjustment does take over everything. It takes over yielding, it takes over rate changes, it takes over, it says never mind everything that the system is calculating through discounts and everything, and saying, nope, I changed my mind just for this particular deluxe on this, and then I just going to give this thing out for 50 bucks. And you can do it that simple. But please, again, don't set these for everything. Why do so we have this really for people that want to lower their rates for the particular night before they go home, or raise it. And we're also using it for our interfaces with yield management systems. We're working with Duetto, we're working with RevBar Guru, we're working with Ideas, and it would be the ability where their system will actually start inserting these rate adjustments for you. And so you're not doing the rate adjust, so that's why you would actually not put that check mark. Like if you were using Duetto and you were using them to adjust your rates through their own algorithms, then you would actually turn this off, and then they will put, the external system will put the rates in there for you and start dictating what your rates are. Of course, if you don't have access to rates, you're not going to be able to go in there. You're not going to get a desk clerk going in there changing the rates. You have to have security to get into rates in order to make those rate adjustments. Okay. Let's see, the letter scheduler. We enhanced the letter scheduler to have one more option. In the past, when you created a letter, you had a reservation, which was an arrival letter, which we would go through all the reservations, or the departure letters where it would go through the profiles, the guest profiles. In version 16, there's a new option called a profile export. And what that means is, never mind reservations, never mind profiles, but go ahead and give me a list of who you want me to send this letter to. And you can get that list from anywhere. You can get it from an Excel spreadsheet, you can get it from something that you type in, or what it's made for is you can get that list from ISQL. So what we'll do is we'll come out of here, and let's just say that we want to run a scheduled job to send a survey to everybody that whatever. So we'll go to Tools, we'll go to Interactive SQL Report, and we can write any SQL statement, and provided that the first column is an email address, then it will get sent a letter. Like for instance, I can just simply say, select all the emails from guest profiles. And if I did that, I would have a list of every email in the system, and I can send all these people a letter. But I want to be a little bit, I want to be special, and I want to just say a couple of things. So let me just, I'm going to go in, Chrissy wrote one for me already. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go out to all the history, and we're going to just find everybody who checked in between a certain date range. And of course, we always want to say that they do have an email address, and we also want to say skip mail is 0. And this would mean everybody who is not on the do not rent list and they don't want it, they've opted out of getting emails. So if I were to run this particular query, I can now go to history and I can say anything I want. So let's just say I want to take everybody who stayed, who checked in on Christmas week. So if I do 12/20/14 to 12/26/14, because I want to send a survey to everybody who stayed around Christmas time, because maybe I did a special thing at Christmas and I want to get their opinion on something. So I'm going to run this query, and I got these particular people. The only thing that's important about this is that I want to make sure that I get their email address as the first thing, the line. Oops. All right, I actually, Christy did this right. That's why she does these webinars and I don't. The first column has to be a guest profile number. That's what it has to be. The first, everything else we don't care about. All we care about is that the first column has to be a guest profile number. So when we run this, and we say we want to run it for this date range, we have 14 people that stay with us on Christmas week. So I would export this, and I can export it any place I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this on the desktop, and I'm going to call this Christmas week. So what I've done is I've just exported a bunch of people in CSV format, the default. So I put it on the desktop. So I have 14 people that stay with me on Christmas week. So now I can go into the letter scheduler. I can pick a letter. So I'm going to use this. She happened to do thank you. But over here, I can say, never mind the departure letters, or let's just do the survey since we talk about the survey. I would select the profile export. I would pick the letter that I want to send. And when I hit preview, it says, well, where's this coming from? And I have to, because I don't have one, so I have to put in a file. So it says, where is this coming from? It's coming from the export file. So if you notice as I change, that changes to a filter. But if I go to export, it actually says export file. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick this extract that I just did, Christmas week. And when I go to preview, here are the 14 people that I'm going to send the survey to. So when I hit OK, I can now run that job, and I can send a survey to 14 people that I've extracted out of ISQL. So the key here, and this is all documented in the help, so it shows you, it actually, there's some steps, and it says these are the steps on how to do one. So we did give you the exact steps of how to do it. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that the first column is the profile number. provided that the first column is a profile number, we don't care about any of the other columns. So just make sure the first column is the profile number. Create your letter as you normally would do through back office letter editor. Then you would come into here. You would change this to profile export. You would go to export file. You would select the file that you've extracted, making sure that column 1 is a profile number. You can hit preview just to verify, yes, these are the people that I want to send it to. And then once you're done, you could just hit start and you would manually run that job. It's very odd that you would have an profile export and then run that job every night, because if you did, the same people would just be getting the same emails every single night. So the purpose of the profile export is really a one-time thing. I want to send it to everybody who's coming next February, because I need to tell them that the pool is going to be closed. So find all reservations of people coming between this particular week, and then I could extract those, making sure the profile number's in column 1, and I can then say, I just want to let you know the pool's going to be closed this week, you have a reservation coming, and so you can do something like that. So you can pick anything. You can do a extract from history, you can do one from reservations, you can do one really from anywhere, provided it contains a profile number. Another Premier enhancement that we added is the ability to see transferred and rerouted charges. This is something that came up with a big request during our users conference, and I got the chance to add it. We did it with Premier Edition simply because we could only do it with the Premier Edition because of the database. So if I go to this particular folio, as you can see, there's no charges on here, there's nothing, and I see that I guess they've been transferred, but I don't know where they went. So I want to click here, and there is a new tab in version 16 called Move Transactions, the number that have been moved, and if I click on it, now it's going to show me all of the transactions that were on this folio that went somewhere else. It shows you the folio number it went to, the status of that particular folio, in this case in-house, and then it shows all the information. So you can actually now see rerouted and transferred charges easily by that new tab. So we think a lot of people are going to like that new feature. Now the next feature is kind of, I don't want to show, but I'll show it anyway. And that's the disconnect workstation connections. We know we get a lot of calls at night of people saying they can't run the audit because somebody left their workstation on in the office and they don't have a key. So that's a great reason to use it. But if you just want to disconnect people without really seeing what the deal is, you can cause a lot of problems because they could be in the middle of a reservation. And let's just say they took a phone call, they talked to a guest, the guest said, I'm changing my reservation, can you please make these particular changes? And the person's in the reservation office and they put in the new dates and they put in the new information and they forget to say okay, and they get up out of their chair and they walk away. And they go home and they never pressed OK on that. And then we don't want to disconnect them, because if you did, then of course that change is not going to happen. So you want to be very careful. But you do have the ability in your auditors now, night audit, current active users, that you can highlight somebody who is on, like we see Chuck's in his office right now and I see he's in roomMaster. And if he's stopping me from doing the audit, I should go and tell Chuck to get out gracefully. But if Chuck had to go home because had something and he forgot to turn off his computer, I can highlight that and I can hit disconnect connection and I can disconnect him, and then I can be able to go ahead and do the audit. So you do have that ability now. So I guess you should be training your auditors that exists, but can you please also train your auditors when to use it and when not to use it? They should not just walk through and go, I'm going to do the audit now, disconnect, 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 and then there's just going to be a lot of bad data or people in the middle of entering an order in the point of sale and you've just disconnect, because once you disconnect them, the only way to get back in is to restart that, and they'll lose what they were working on. So just be very careful. And don't worry, you won't be able to disconnect yourself. So if you're on as yourself and you go in and you disconnect, it will come back and say that you can't do it. On the reservations tab, on the display as chart, you always had this feature, but there is a new one that I added, and because it's very common in the Smith reports and the different reports of people polling hotels now and asking information, because it's very popular, is really just a simple segment report. So all of these existed in version 15, but the new one on the bottom is reservations by segment. So it will take care of your transient, business, and group business. So it's showing you that between this particular date range, these are how my reservations came in. How many are business customers, how many are group, and how many are transient. And this is handled automatically by looking at, do they have a group code attached? Do they have a direct bill attached and company, direct bill or company? Otherwise, it's transient. So the system's going to do this for you automatically so that you can get this information, say a traveler, or somebody contacted you and wanted to get your feedback, or you want to see, where's my business coming in? It's that simple, and you would just put in a range and see reservations by segment. As I did mention, the Duetto interface, that yes, we interface with Duetto, and Duetto will yield your rates for you and bring those, and we do have the interface to bring rates into the system with them. So let me quickly go over some interactive SQL enhancements, which is under the Tools option and Interactive SQL. One thing that's a good enhancement is when you close out of ISQL and you come back, it does bring back the last query for you. I know a lot of people are going to like that. There's people that have hit escape on this screen and they've lost their query, or they didn't save it. So if you accidentally have to get out and then take a reservation and then you come back and you go into Interact, it'll put you where you left off. So I think a lot of people are going to like that. However, if you do sign off, like sign in as another user, or you exit roomMaster, then of course it's going to be cleared. But if you stay under the same session, it will come back and remember where you left off. So I think that's going to make a lot of people happy. There's also a find and replace. So I added that because there were a lot of people who wrote, like in this particular case, a query against history, and they changed and they say, but we want to go through and we want to look at folios now. So they simply want to just change everywhere that hist had to folio head. So now everything is now looking at current folios instead of history folios. So that was really one of the reasons why the find and replace was added. Over on here, I did enhance some of the views here. For instance, if you look at the room types, there's some extra information here, which is the room. This was, a lot of people don't know this is here, but this is how you get the room group. It was always there. But in version 16, the full description, the number of adults, the number of children, and the number of people has been added as well, in case you needed that for some queries. But these views can be really helpful. For instance, if you want to write a report and look at a particular and get all the things for a certain room group. Another thing that was added was the formatting. I've added a lot of formatting. So let me just go into the help, because that's a good place to. In the help, this is where I always go, is embedded SQL report ISQL functions, and I'm sorry, entire SQL syntax. This will show you exactly how to write a query and in what order those queries are supposed to be. But if you look here in red, this is SQL, real SQL. So this is standard SQL, if you know SQL. But everything that's not in red is specific to InQuest, specific to roomMaster. And so we added a lot. I've through the versions, I've added more and more and more stuff because people have been asking for different things to make the reports a little bit nicer. And so there is some new ones here. One of them is the set report font adjust, set report font size, set report font name. So you can change the font of the report, the size of the report, and some different things to make it look good. And then you can also now set the fonts of the titles. So a lot of people wanted to bold the titles or underline the titles or make them big. You can do that too, and you can do that with the format column. We've added some more attributes in there so that you can actually make your some people wanted maybe a column to be in a different font or things like that. So there's a lot of fine tuning in here. So if you come into this SQL entire syntax, go through these particular ones in black, and you'll see that we have a lot of functionality in here that you can expand upon. I think a lot of people don't know that we have. It's really, really cool. And if you don't know what any of these mean, then every one of those, they're explained in detail as you go through here for the functions. So the format title, and you can change you can hide the column, you can change the titles, you can change the font, you can change the description to be right justified or left justified, a whole bunch of things. So, and there's a lot of examples too. Lot of things you can do. Okay, so I'm going to move over to IQ Anywhere, and there was a lot of work done in IQ Anywhere for version 16. So one thing that we just added that you're not going to see, that you don't see now if you're running 16, but it's going to be released with the next version, 16.03, which I'm hoping to be on Wednesday, is at the beginning of this webinar, I showed you IQ Webbook, which is the replacement for the booking engine. So we know that people are going to move from our roomMaster.net system to the webbook system. And so we needed to give people the ability to still be able to do groups and to give a bride, a bride's mother, or somebody access to the ability to see their groups so they wouldn't have to call the sales office all the time. And you know we do that in roomMaster.net. That is the fourth option in roomMaster.net, call a group display. But if you don't have roomMaster.net, or you're not using roomMaster.net because you use another booking engine, Nexus or whatever, but you still want to have the ability to do that, we now have integrated that into IQ Anywhere. So when you go in version 16.03, which comes out tomorrow, when you go into setup configuration, and I showed everybody, I think Christy showed everybody the first webinar that we moved the IQ Anywhere settings inside roomMaster, that you will now see that the opt-out link will be here so that you can get people, you can now do the opt-out link for your letters, and you don't have to be a roomMaster.net customer, you can do it through IQ Anywhere, but you can also do group blocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to be IQ Anywhere. So if you want to convert from IQ Reservations to IQ Anywhere, all you're doing is changing that to the word IQ Anywhere. IQ Reservations to IQ Anywhere. And it shows you right here how to do that. And so now you're using IQ Anywhere as your main thing for opting out and your main thing for group blocks. So if I were to go into group blocks and there was a this conference right here, IQ conference. If you go in, there is a, I think I just have to turn it on. So let me just turn it on. There's a link here now in 1603 if you have IQ Anywhere. And it says copy IQ Anywhere group link to clipboard. So if you click on that, you can email that link to your group, the group manager who's actually managing this conference. So what we'll do is we'll jump over to here. And we'll paste that into here. Oops. Looks like that's not the right link. Looks like we have a bad link set up. I'm surprised that. Okay, so the link is happening right here. Let me fix the link. I'll start from the beginning. It's very important that your link is set up properly, otherwise it won't work. Okay. So if I go into this conference and I click here, it'll put the link on the clipboard. I can then email that to them. And when they run that, oh, I see. Okay, we have a demo called IQ3. That's why this IQ3 is something that we added because we have two IQ Anywheres that we have to demo to clients. We have the IQ Anywhere version 2 still, and then we also have the IQ Anywhere version 3. So I apologize for that. We have two versions that we're demoing, so that's why it wasn't working. And I'm going to show you 2 ways on how to do that. Okay. So when you send them this link, they'll be able to click on it. This could be the bride's mother. This could be a manager of a group conference that you're working with. But they would then click on that link and they would see the name of their conference, and it work on their mobile device and their iPhone or their web browser. So they'll be able to see all the information for their group. They'll be able to see their contact information. They'll be able to see their group policy. But we're not going to show them the group notes, of course, because you may have put something funny about them, or you might have put a message about them that you don't want them to see. So don't worry about that. We will hide that. But then what it will also do is show them their bookings. So they can come here and they can say, oh, instead of calling you all the time and saying, did my mother book, did this person book, or how many nights do you have booked so far, or how many rooms? They can go in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and look as many times as they want at who's booked for their conference. They can sort. They can even pull up a reservation. They can look at the details of each reservation. They can't change it, but they can at least get this information, and we'll keep adding more and more information. And they can also print this, and we made it so that, as you can see, there's a little dotted line here, but when they go ahead and print it, it won't put the top part or the bottom part. It'll give them a nice printout. So there's 2 ways of giving them this information. The first way is like I showed you. You could just click here, put it on your clipboard, start up an email and say, if you want to find out what's going on with your group, click here. Or you can put it inside your letter. So if we go to the letter editor and we go to group block letters, we can go to this a letter that we're doing, and we can say, if we go contact me if you have any questions, blah blah blah, or we can say, to keep informed about your group's progress, please use this link at any time. It can work on your browser or even your iPhone. And then if you come here, there is a new field called IQ Anywhere Group Link. So you click there and it'll put the word, the variable is web link. So if you were to email them this letter, oops, that was the booking patterns. It will say to keep informed, and it puts the link right here. Now if you mailed this to them and they opened up in their browser, this link would be clickable, so they could actually click on it. Another option that I know people are going to want to do is if they want it to look pretty, you can do something like this. You could say, to keep informed of your progress, please click here. So you can do that if you want. And then you can come here, highlight that, click on link, and you can put the word webbook in here. Web link, sorry. Put it in caps, so make sure it's in caps. So there are two ways that you can do it. So they could do it, you could do it through here, or you can do it through here. I prefer this because if they have to forward this, or they want to copy it, or they want to save it to a bookmark or things like that, you may want, or you can do both, but that's how that works. And so what would happen is when they click on it, they would get right into their group, and they'd be able to see all their information real time about but they're not going to be able to change, cancel, or add reservations. I do want to look at getting access to the room list, so I can see in the near future there'll be a button up here, hopefully, that would say set up room list, and then we could get the person for the group can actually start entering their rooming list there, and then all you have to do is go into roomMaster and import it. So if anybody thinks that that's a cool thing and they would like to do that, then go ahead and type that and let Kent know, and because we need to see if there is some interest or what other things people want to see in here. But what this is doing is it's giving your people the ability to see things that are happening for their group 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so they don't have to call in to your group manager and keep asking the same question. Did Deborah Jones book yet? Or things like that. Or you don't have to send status reports. So it just eliminates the whole need of sending status reports to your group managers. While I'm in the IQ Anywhere, I just want to just show just a couple of things here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump over to a real IQ Anywhere, not the group manager, but as a employee here. Okay, so some enhancements that we made is we added the status bar here, but on the snapshot, there's also a status bar here. So we'll show you the next 5 days, what your occupancy is the next 5 days. These are the dates, 121, 122, and then how many rooms are available. So these are how many rooms you have left to sell. So immediately you can see what my occupancy is and what my rooms are left to sell. So that's new. Another thing is what people have asked for is the ability to add, change, and cancel reservations. So if we go to arrivals and departures, we can go in and take Christy Conley right here and click on her. And we're looking at the reservation here, but you'll see that we can now change, cancel, check in, or even do confirmation letters directly from IQ Anywhere. So I can take this reservation, hit change, and I'll say no, she was 2 adults, and I can even come down into the notes and I could say changed to 2 adults, got a phone call or whatever. I can put some notes in here. I can even add requires I can even change the user field, update the user field online now, or anything. Custom fields are all here, and even put in more names. So I hit OK, and the reservation is updated. So you can change reservations on your iPhone, your web browser remotely. You can even assign and deassign rooms. So you can see room number 116 is assigned to Christy. I can click on here and look at room 116, and I can even look at the availability of 116. Or I can unassign the rooms. I can assign new rooms. I can cancel the reservation, or I can send her a confirmation letter. So I can click on letters. My confirmation letters will come in the list. This is the same as what you see here. So it's no different than clicking on here. It's the same thing, but it's going to be on your iPhone or your browser. And so you would just click. The only ones that will work are HTML. So if you're using both RTF and HTML, then start converting your letters over to HTML. Or if you do require RTF and HTML, then put the word HTML at the end of it. So when you come in here, you'll see. But I believe when 1603 comes out, that it will filter out the RTF letters, so you can't by accident click on them. Yeah, I think they will do that. So what you could do is you could just click on here, and I think this thing's going to take 5 seconds because I know we're using a slow server. We're using our office server. But depending on your mail server, yeah, the letter will go out. See, it says right here, email sent, so you can send it. The only, there's some things here. If it's a group block reservation, you will not be able to change the dates or the rooms on group blocks. You still need to use roomMaster for that. So if we were to find a particular a group, let's just find a reservation. I know that I think there's a Danae group. And I hit change, you're going to see that this information is put in here that you cannot change because there's a lot of group functionality and changes that behind the scenes that we can't do remotely. But you can then change anything else that you want with the reservation. But you can unassign this room because it's not booked by room number, it's booked by room type. But we can unassign the room. We can assign a room, find what room we want to give them. And it's that easy how we can assign rooms using the IQ Anywhere. Now, I know that last week Christy showed the housekeeping, where if we go to reports, housekeeping, custom associates report, and we talked about this assignment of rooms, and you can assign it to particular employees. So in this particular case, we can look at the associates, and I have a manager set up where this is my sign-on initials for IQ Anywhere. So when I am on IQ Anywhere and I am signed on as that person, when I go to housekeeping, you will see a button here called My Rooms. So if we were to look at the manager, that's who I'm signed in as, demo right here, 101 through 117. If I were to click on My Rooms, then I'm going to get room 101 to 117. So I can look at the rooms that were assigned, and it's real time. So if I were to add 704, and I were to come over here and I were just to refresh, then I should see 704. So 704 will come right into my list. So if I were a housekeeper walking around and I'm MGR, you'll see that as the rooms are assigned, they'll just appear as part of the My Rooms. So that's what the My Rooms button is for. I also want to show on the availability that you can click on availability and see the rooms, but this was added a little bit later. Some people already have seen this, but I'm just drawing attention that you can show rates remotely now as well. So now you can look at the rates. You can just click here to look at the rates for 3 adults. So we now have the availability remotely with the rates, and this is something new where you can now drill down even deeper to break it down to know exactly how many were stayovers, how many are check-ins, how many are out of service, how many are connectors. So you can now get even more detail while you're looking at the rooms. And of course, you can get into the group detail. Now remember that I gave access to a particular group and they weren't able to do much. But if you're signed on as yourself and you go in, then you will get the same screen. You'll see the people assigned to that group, but you will be able to do more stuff like sending letters, and so you'll have more ways, and you'll also see the profile information, and you'll be able to this person's not attached to a profile, but you'll be able to update their likes and dislikes and things about the profile. So you can do a lot more if you're zeroing in on the group. But you can see there's a lot of power here in IQ Anywhere now. So you have your add, you have your change, and let's just go through like adding a reservation. I'll show you. If you're on the arrivals and departures, you can do add a reservation and say this person wants to come February 19th and they want to leave on the 21st. Actually, let's make it longer. Let's make it the 23rd. One adult, and they want to stay in the penthouse. So we can hit check availability, and it will go through and it will say, yep, we do have and this is a nightly breakdown. So it shows you the nightly breakdown. It shows you the total room. So you can confirm with the guests. If let's say you were remote and you were answering your phone remotely, or you wanted to book something for a friend while you were out to dinner that wants to stay at your hotel or whatever, you can go through and you can verify that this is good. You can hit book now, and then you can put in their name, and it will go out and it will say, oh, I think I know who that person is. So you can verify that it's that person, or you can say, no, it's not that person. I want to start them as a new guest. But let's say that's me. So and I can confirm, yeah, you've stayed with us a long time. You've been coming with us for years. So you have that information. I'll click on it, and it confirms the top information. It puts all their information in for you. You can then update and say, okay, this was a referral from another person, and I'm doing this for a demo, and I'm going to do it by credit card, and I'm going to get the credit card. Make sure you're using a secured socket to do this. It won't show if you're not using a secured socket. And I can go ahead and I can even do a more name if I wanted to. Press OK. It creates the reservation. At that point, I can assign a room. I can then send them a confirmation letter. So I can do all of that from my iPhone or my iPad that quickly. So you can see the power so now it says the email sent. I give them the confirmation number 7746, and then if I go into roomMaster, there's the reservation in roomMaster with all of the room assigned and everything. Credit card on file, and it's even attached to the profile automatically. And the journal is updated properly. So we've added the reservation, we've assigned the room, and then we emailed them the confirmation letter. Okay, I'm going to actually jump right now to point of sale. This is a few things I want to show in point of sale. And then I'll talk about IQScheduler, and then I'll talk about some technical enhancements that we've done. Okay, on the point of sale, the biggest thing we put in here was the ability to do poll and surveys, Premier Edition only. This is the ability for your servers to enter information into the system that attaches to the guest check so that you can obtain statistical information about your guests. It could be information that you're asking your guests, or it could be information that your server knows about the guests just by looking at them. And so that way, when you're trying to get statistical information of information for your restaurant, it's really, really cool, because you can say how many people at night are business travelers versus families, or how many people that are coming to my restaurant that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Or you can go so far to say how many business travelers drink alcohol versus families that drink alcohol. Or I can get right down into saying, if I look at all the prime ribs that I sold, who's eating, you can get a whole bunch of information. So if we go to maintenance and configuration and settings, on the global settings, this is used to say accounts and discounts. Now it says accounts, discounts, and polls. So we can go in here and click on polls and surveys, and we have two surveys here. One is called the type of guest, and the other one is party type. So I'm just going to look and see what we got here. It says type of guest. Please indicate if diners are guests of the hotel. So we're just asking a single answer, and we're going to say we're only going to do this in the cafe and the spa. We're not going to do this in these particular outlets. And we're not going to do it, of course, for takeout or at the sandwich counter, because maybe we don't know it's takeout. So we could say what type of service as well. And we can say, is this a hotel guest or a non-hotel guest? And so what happens is when they start the check, the server can now enter, is this a hotel guest or a non-hotel guest? And then you can go through later on and say, okay, I can see that I've had 5 hotel guests come to my restaurant since I started this poll, and 1 non-hotel guest come. And I can even see that the statistics are 83% to 17%. And in this other type, it might be the same thing. Okay, so in this particular, we have a party type, and we're saying how many are single males, females, couples, seniors, large parties, etc. And I can go through and now see that I cater more towards couples than I do to single males, and I can look at that, and I can make better decisions in my restaurant. So you can say when you want the poll to start. So maybe you've set up the poll, but you only want to do it next Sunday, and you want to just start that poll and just get that information just for one day. So we can say we're going to poll everybody from 09 to 10, September 9th to 10th. We can do that. There's a bunch of options here that we can skip when it's a supervisor or manager. We can require that they answer. Make sure you check this, otherwise the poll won't work. So it's got, you got to mark it as active. That's very important. And we can say, because this is a dinner type of thing, we don't even want the poll. If we're going to do this poll every day, we don't want the poll to even come up before 4 p.m. and we can leave that blank. So we can make sure that even though we have this poll going, we're not asking breakfast people. We're only interested in dinner type of people. And we can even do multi-selection if we wanted to. So this one's active, and this one is active. So if I were to go into the here, and I were to sign in, and I'm going to start a check, what I'll do is I'll enter that particular check. And if I were to put it on hold or pay it, so it's either putting it on hold the first time or paying it, it simply says, indicate, so that all they have to do is click, and then it goes on hold. And I think I set that other one at 4 p.m. and that's why it didn't show up. So I've just collected information that quickly. So it's, you can have, I wouldn't have a whole bunch of polls, but you can collect information where the servers are entering it, and then later on you can use that data to look at just the answer, or you can even write SQL queries to even go deeper to find out from, because it attaches to the guest check. So the answer is attaches to the check, and because you've attached the check, you now have everything that guest have bought. So you could say how many single males have bought vodka, or how many single males are buying appetizers, or who of my particular party type is the one that likes to do appetizers or desserts or whatever. So that's a neat feature that we added. There's a new report called, this was something that a lot of people have been asking for, is sales by shift and classification. That's a new report, and it really gives a lot of information. I'm going to run this for last month. Hopefully we can. Hopefully our demo has some data. Yeah. So we can, we don't close to shift, but we can now break down each classification by shift. So we can say how much alcoholic drinks are being bought during breakfast, maybe we're doing Bloody Marys and mimosas, how much alcohol drinks during lunch, and how many alcohol drinks during dinner, and we have the full amount within a certain period, broken down by the quantity, the amount, and the percentage. So we know that Reynolds is the biggest thing that we're selling here, and then alcoholic drinks are the second. So this is a new report, and I think a lot of people will like. Another thing we added is we did add the ability to do decimals, and the reason we needed to do that was because we have some gas stations in marinas that are needing to sell fractions, and then we also noticed that we could do that a lot with our grocery stores that are using our system, because they're using weighted options. Maybe they're selling onions or carrots or vegetables, and they're having to do like 1.5 pounds or 1.25 pounds. So the ability to do decimals can now be done. So when you go to the item, you have to make sure that it says prompt for quantity. So it says fuel, but it's really fuel and weighted items. You can use it for weighted items. So make sure that if you when you create the item, in this particular case we call this gas, and we are prompting for the quantity. And the other option that you have to turn on if you're going to do this in your establishment is show decimal points in quantity on this workstation, because we're assuming that a lot of people are not going to use this. But if you are going to use this, then you want to check that box. Now, when you go ahead and enter, you can now say they did 20 3/4 gallons. And it will say the weight or the quantity at the price per and then the total. So it would work really good for in the grocery stores as in gas. As you can see, we definitely increased the size of the number pad so it was quicker. And we also increased the size of all the screens. So if I go into functions, it's actually now doing full size screen. So depending on the size of the display, the screens will now resize to be full screen, and they'll come up faster actually. There's been some design changes to make the screens come up faster. The quick hold was added. This is a, I want to make sure I turn it on. This was added for bars where you're in a bar and somebody wants to just run a tab. So let's say we're in a bar, somebody comes up to a bar and they say, okay, I'm going to do this particular cocktail and that particular cocktail, and they hand the bartender the credit card and it says, I want to run a tab. All you do is you take the credit card from the customer, and doing nothing at all you do is scan the credit card. And then you hit this new button called Open and Start a Tab with Credit Card. It will then go out, authorize the card for the amount plus 15%, and put the order on hold automatically using the name on the first name, last initial of the credit card. And it's that easy. So now when the guest comes back, it will start with a $sign. You can then increase, you can add more cocktails. Let's say they want to buy something, put it back on hold. And when you're ready to pay, you can recall that order. And when you pay, there is a check mark showing that you've collected that particular credit card. So you know that it's a Visa. Maybe they left, or maybe they want their bill. And you then, the button says Settle Tab, Reauthorize, and Print Receipt. What happens is it'll look at the balance and say, did they buy more stuff? Did the authorization cover what they bought? If they did, if the authorization is good, it will immediately just print the summary and detail receipt so they can enter their tips and give you the receipt. If it's not enough, it will go out and reauthorize the exact amount left that it needs to authorize, and then it will print the receipt. So it does everything for you. So all we're doing is we're going to hit this, and this is, oh, remember we bought that other daiquiri, so we need to get more, we need to get an additional approval. It goes through and gets an approval, and then it goes ahead and prints the detail receipt, and then it goes ahead and prints the summary receipt, and then you just put the order back on hold, or you can just collect the payment at that point. So it makes things very easy because you can just settle the bill And if they just wanted to tip you in cash, you could just charge the card the remaining balance and not do any tip. So it makes bar sales really, really quick and easy. And of course, it's just coming up like that because I don't have a printer. So we hope that people really like that and use that. Another thing on the room inquiry, this is something that we think it'd be really helpful, is when you do a room inquiry, we now have all the names. So if you have a full family, so before it was just the name on the folio, now all the more names will come up so that you do have the ability to, if the son or the daughter, or they were just adding a couple of charges to their room in the point of sale, you have access to all the people in the room. And when you're doing a bill to room, we do show them more names as well. So we added all that information. You can do a comment on any of the rooms, so on the bills. So if you click, there is a comment here. So you can put comments. So you can say, you can attach any check to a guest at the time that you're starting the bill, so that way if you knew who it was and you don't want to deal with the bill to room later by asking what room number they are, you can assign it at this point at any time. Or another thing is, even if they're paying cash, you can assign it to an in-house folio so they can at least get the credit for what they're buying, because we do track sales on the guest profile level. So you can, even though they're paying cash, assigning a bill to an in-house folio would then allow you to include that into their statistics of what they're buying, because as you know, our point of sale will remember everything that people have bought forever, and you can do statistics on that. We've increased the security on our on the printing of checks in version 15 and lower. You could say the checks can only be printed once if you're not a manager, but we didn't look at split checks. One of the big things that came up was the ability to split a check or start moving people around through split checks to get around it. In version 16, we've taken care of all that, and now there's a limit to the number of checks you can print, even down to the seat level. So so if we pull up a 55 here, you can see that I have a split check. And if I go through seat 1 and I go to print seat 1, it will say too many receipts have been printed. There's been 2 for this seat. So you need to see the supervisor to print it. But I can go to seat 2 and I can go ahead and I can print that particular, well, that one I guess I maxed out as well. But depending on the seat number, you can go through and maintain the integrity and the security of printing of the multiple seats. So that's a new thing that we added. And then the last thing we added was if the print manager was shut down for more than 10 minutes, it will automatically start by itself. So we noticed a lot of people would shut down their print manager because they went into some setup option and they forgot to restart it, and then they wonder why the checks didn't print in the kitchen. So we're now monitoring for that. And if the print manager is open but the status is not open, what we'll do is we'll wait 10 minutes, and if we'll assume that the IT person or somebody walked away, we'll automatically restart it now after 10 minutes to help you out. So we think that's going to help out a lot of people. On the IQ scheduler, this is most of the enhancements here are centered around conflict checking. So in the past, you could actually take a particular person and maybe overbook the room or overbook the attendant. And now all the conflict checking is now in play. So if I were to take Christie's wrap and put it in the facial room, it will say that there's a conflicting event, and it will say it's conflicting with this particular event. So it shows you what your event is and what the conflicting event is, and it won't allow you to do that. So it's making sure that you don't overbook employees or overbook rooms. And that is done through either the resource or so there is an option on the calendar resource and the people resource. So you have to check this box to say restrict calendar resource conflicts, restrict people resource conflicts. So if you don't want two people in the same room, then you want to check that box. If you don't want two people being used for an event, then you'll check this box. So you have the ability to restrict on the calendar and or the people level. So that stops this person from doing two things or the room from doing two things. Another thing that was added is now, as you can see, this is really cool, is let me just move this out of the way here. This is really cool. This is actually added in 1603, so you won't see that till the update. But if you're viewing the calendar by a room resource, you will now see the people resource on the event. If you're viewing the people resources, you will now see the room on the event. So it makes things a lot easier to see what's going on. I think that's going to be like the biggest enhancement. So if you're a spa right now, and when you upgrade to 1603, between the conflict restrictions and the displaying of the alternate resource right on the screen, those two things are just going to make your job so much easier. Your staff is going to love that. There, you could cancel events. You always could cancel events, but there were times that people asked not for that to happen, or delete events. I'm sorry, let me go back in here. You could cancel the event, but there were people that had the ability to delete the event. There's a delete button right here, and so managers wanted people canceling events, not deleting them. That way there's a trace of that there was a particular event, but they don't want to come anymore, so we don't want them deleting it, we want them canceling it. And the way to do that is on the calendar level, and it's restrict deletes. So if that is unchecked and you go in, you will be able to delete the event. So you say, you know what, I just delete it. And that's what this button is. If you don't want them doing that, then go in, click on this checkbox, restrict deletes, and now there's no way to delete the event. They must go ahead and cancel it. Cancels are better so that we don't lose the journaling. We don't lose that there was a particular thing. So I think a lot of people will want to go in and turn on that if you're using this. Another enhancement that was made for larger monitors is you can show 3 months at a time on the left versus 2 months. So that was an enhancement that was added. And another one that people are going to like is that the description is required in full checking, conflict checking, everything is done before sending out an itinerary. So if I were to go in here and I were to go through and I set up a resource and I assigned a person and I didn't pay attention and I went, notice I can't print this. I got to put in a description, and then when I print it, it says, no, I'm not even going to let you print this now. You have a conflict. So it won't let you make the mistake of sending an confirmation to the guest and then say, oh, never mind that, I made a mistake, I can't do that or whatever. So every time before you print now, we're going to require that you put in the description, because some people were actually hitting the print button before there was even a description entered, and we want to make sure that the conflicts are checked before we send it out. So if you're using IQSchedule for your spa, these changes are really, really cool. I think your people are going to really like it. So let me just give you, that's really it that I want to show. The only thing, a couple of things. Well, let me just show one more thing that's coming into support, is that Chrissy didn't mention this and she wanted me to tell everybody. In the past, these were limited to 35 characters. We've changed these to 128 characters. So if you've abbreviated your email address in the internet settings, your own hotel's internet information, when you go to 16, we've increased those to 128 characters. So you can, so you can go ahead and fix your thing up once you go to 16 if you had to. So I just want to tell everybody that. We should be putting out 1603 tomorrow. If you're running any 16 version, please upgrade to it. There are probably 50 to 60 fixes and things that we've enhanced and corrected because we've learned a lot after we've gotten the beta out. We've gotten a lot of feedback. I think we have more than 250 people running this right now. So we got a lot of feedback. So when 1603 comes out, you'll see about 25 fixes that we're putting on the public side so you can read it. But behind the scenes, there's at least 50, 60 changes minimum on this update. So make sure you put that update in. It's very, very important. And then I also want to mention on the webinars, inquest.com/webinars. And then don't go because I'm gonna don't go everyone, please. I'm gonna ask some questions about IQ Webbook. So make sure you go to inquest.com/webinars, and Chrissy's going to be repeating these 3 webinars if you want to, but I just want to announce something that Chrissy and I have decided to do, which is Inquest Live. And what we want to do is the second Thursday of the month, Chrissy and I want to come in and do a webinar type of thing that is a little bit more open. We want to like pick a topic. We want to talk about topic. We want to look at the support calls that came in that month, give some tips that people might want to learn about that we've learned through support calls. I'm going to do some SQL report writing. We'll talk about the new web booking engine. We'll talk about it every month in the development progress and show all the new features as they're being made. And we'll even do like a question and answer at the end. We can do open question and answer. We can talk about anything. We can give you little tips on performance and anything. So what we're going to do 3 of them. It'll be the second Thursday of the month, and those are the dates, March 12th, April 9th, and May 14th. And if they are a success, if they're a hit, if people want us to, then Chrissy and I have decided that we'll do 1 a month, and we'll show up every month. You can just show up. We're only going to do it for an hour, and we might even have a guest speaker. We can even have Stephen come, and I'm sure that'll be a nice Thursday treat to hear Stephen talking, because a lot of people here know Stephen, and that's a lot of fun. So if you're interested, could you, 1 second, could you lower everybody's hand? if you're interested in that, either raise your hand on your panel over there. There's a thing that says raise your hand, or at least just type and say it. But if you're interested in us coming once a month, and oh, never mind, every single person has raised their hand. There's like 95% have raised their hand. So it looks like Christy and I will be here every month talking to you guys. Sign up for those webinars. And I really think they'll be a lot of fun. They're going to be unstructured, and I think there'll be some cool stuff. So with that said, I really appreciate everything. Know that these webinars will be repeated. Christy will be back to do them. I hope I did okay today. I was kind of the last minute knowing that I had to do this. And then we'll do the Inquest Live. Tomorrow, 1603 will be coming out, so do a check for updates. So if you have roomMaster 16, all you have to do, you don't need to call us. You just need to go to Help, check for updates, and it will go out and check to see when 1603 is available. And it will add. I did talk about this sign-off button. I want to show a cool thing that I did. This sign-off button right here, that's done. If you're wondering where that is from, that is in General System, Advanced Options, and it's right here. Show sign-off button. So you want to put yes. So there is a little cool thing here if you want to do it. If you go to File, in your user password and settings, you can select your gender, and I just kind of personalize your sign up button. So if you're female, that your little sign up button will be looking like that. And if you're a male, then your sign up button will look like that. And it'll give you the ability also to update your phone number and cell number for each employee. Can put that in so that that's in the system for management. So we added the your information part as well in version 1603. So that's a little bit of fine tuning that we did to the sign off button. So you'll see that change. Oh, and one more thing I forgot. Last week, Room Moves was a hit. It seemed like of everything we did in version 16, the two biggest hits were the Room Moves and the remote notification. I've done a ton of programming and fixes and enhancements to the room notification in 1603, so you'll be able to read about those. In fact, if you click on Web Help right now in your roomMaster, you'll see that we did this many corrections and enhancements to the room moves, and we did just as many of those to the remote notification. But I know last week Christy showed you that you can do your room moves in the confirmation letter, and that was adding a variable called room moves. Okay, so that it was called room moves. What we found out that some hotels like to tell people about their room moves, but they don't want to tell the room number, because a lot of people don't like giving out room numbers yet because things may move around. They know it's going to be a penthouse, but they don't know which one. So I've added another variable. So room moves is going to show the room type. Room moves extended is going to show the room numbers. So if you want to show your room moves in the confirmation letter and you want to show the room number as well to the guests, then you want to change your variable to be _ex for extended. If you want to show the room move but not show the room number, then you're going to use the room moves variable. They're both in here, so you don't have to remember what they are, but they're right here. It's called room moves extended, where we show the room moves, where we show the type. So that was just a little change with the room moves to make sure that, because we found that some hotels did not want it, they wanted one versus the other. So it gave you a little bit more flexibility. And of course, while I'm in the confirmation letter, I just want to to say that we are doing the opt-out links now with IQ Anywhere customers as well as roommaster.net customers. So if you were if you don't have roommaster.net but you do have IQ Anywhere, once you go to 1603, then in IQ Anywhere, you can do the opt-out through IQ Anywhere, so that when you send a letter to a guest, the guest can opt out, and they can opt out through your IQ Anywhere or your roommaster.net interface now. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility. So I think we did good. It was an hour and a half. So I hope everybody has a great day, and thank you for coming, and thank you for listening to me rather than Christy. Take care, everyone.